University of Understanding. University of Understanding. You start hearing different views. You think about them. It drives you for deeper thought. You know, it makes you look at what you believe and why you believe it, and then you begin researching. And at the end of the day, you think you've learned more, and then you find out there's still more to learn. Defined it in our minds. How does that impact what is going on in our society, and how do we change that if we need to change that, or do we need to change that? So I got 30 minutes, and I want to start talking about, I'm gonna throw this out here, and I know people are gonna have to start throwing your hands up because I'm gonna put you in order. Whoopi Goldberg, what she said concerning race, right, wrong, crazy, what's up? TK, Ted, go.
Yeah, I just wanted to get back to what I believe, I'm not sure what the brother's name, but he was saying about white supremacy and stuff like that, that he no longer follows that concept, which is fantastic, because there's a great majority of so-called white people who don't follow that concept of white supremacy, because we have to keep in mind.
TK, I'm gonna make a rule on here. You can't say white people unless you say quote unquote white people, because we just way into, y'all just killing me with this white people and black people. And you know, we saying it's not real, but okay, go ahead, TK.
I understand.
You're killing me.
We have to remember that, you know, that as far as American slavery, black people didn't free themselves. It took a whole lot of white people who were basically willing to die to, you know, get us some type of whatever freedom is called. But I mentioned white supremacy as a concept, which it is, and it's not exclusive to white people. There's black people who have white supremacy. There are Latinos who have white supremacy, where they always believe or feel more comfortable if white people on top, which is different from racism, which I think is a hatred of black people. But white supremacy is black people, okay, I can hang out, I can party with them, blah, 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 long as I'm on top. Anytime anybody challenges me being on top, I got a problem. And you can see that reflected in a whole bunch of stuff. When admissions into colleges, or if they get too many Asians, they get nervous. As far as black people taking leadership, you know, oh, well, you know, they get nervous, even from the NFL to the Supreme Court, all the things that we see now. And to me, that's not necessarily racism, but that's white supremacy, where white people get to define what it is, who it is, and how it's done. So to the brother who happened to be white, hey, you know, spread the good word that you can survive beyond white supremacy. You don't necessarily need it. And I just want to add that white supremacy is global. Black folks suffer from it, Latinos, Asians, the whole concept, because that's what we're brought up in.
TK, oh, did Delbert leave? Delbert left. Okay, Delbert left.
He had to leave at 2:30.
Okay, because TK, you need to hook up with Delbert. He's got some, because that, I mean, when you start talking the white supremacy thing, I think that's in America, we say that. And when you get a worldwide perspective, I don't think you would use that same terminology. You might spot it and you may say that looks like white supremacy. But what you find out from a world context is that, you know, there have been people on top of varying colors in varying places for a long time. And it just doesn't go one way. I just hate to say it just doesn't go one way. So, but okay. That's in America.
I just agree with that,
because racism
in the modern era, since the ships left Europe.
But that's the problem. But TK, I'm gonna say this, and then we're up to Ted and then Ricky. But that's the problem, and that's what I told Miguel. I said, Miguel, the problem in America is that we think history began with the Europeans coming to settle Jamestown in 1607. The world did not start then. And we were impacted by people that were influenced in North Africa and in the Indian Ocean with the Barbary pirate slave trade and all that stuff that was happening in the 14th century. And we don't understand that because we only believe it began when Christopher Columbus and his crew and the Mayflower Compact came over. We think that's where it starts. It didn't. And so that impacts us today. We're talking 500, 600 years ago, and we think stuff just started happening in the 1600s. we're behind and we don't understand.
This part of the conversation is a reflection on differing definitions of what everybody thinks you're talking about. Because what everybody's saying is true, but you think you're talking about the same thing, and you're not talking about the same thing.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, okay, who did I have up at TK? Are you TK?
Me.
You done TK?
Yeah,
Did I say Ted, then
Yeah.
Ricky? Okay, go ahead, Ted, Ricky, then George.
So as far as Whoopi goes, I'm not a real fan, but what she
Yeah, I forgot I
said.
asked the question.
Huh?
I said, I forgot I'd asked that question. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, to be fair, I heard what she said, and I get what she was trying to say, and what she was trying to say was, it's kind of the same problem we're facing here. And George, you just alluded to it. We define things differently, and then we argue about our definitions when most of us are on the same, kind of same page and want to have the same hearts, and we get distracted by a lot of, I think, insignificant.
Okay, well, tell us what so agree, disagree, or what with Whoopi? What do you give us your view?
Well, I think whenever you bring up Nazi attitudes towards the Jews, you probably, I'm finding that most people don't have a really deeper understanding of what was going on there, and the mindset of the German, supremacy. I mean, there's you. I mean, the Aryan race was they were the supreme race. I mean, they were going to wipe everybody out. And they picked on the gypsies. They picked on the Christians. But they picked on the Jews because the Jews had it was economic. It gets back to economics. The Jews were good at money and building, wealth. And so, they became an obvious and easy target based on race, but also beyond race, as you pointed out, Carlin. So I think it's hard to say agree or disagree. I would just say that whenever you bring up that part of history, there's some really bad understandings of all the stuff that was going on. It goes back. I mean, really, it goes back to it goes back hundreds of years. But I mean, it certainly goes back to some of the things that were going on in the diaspora and the Jews and throughout Eastern Europe, and how they were viewed all together. But I mean, these conversations get convoluted at times and hard to. I mean, I keep hearing George kind of calling us back and saying, we're really kind of talking about the same thing, between us, but we're sometimes getting veered off into different places by our verbiage and the way we're expressing ourselves. And I'll just point this out. Carlin, you pointed this out. Facebook conversations are almost impossible to have because we're not. Even this is difficult, but this gives us, I'm seeing people's expressions, I'm hearing people's voice inflections, I'm hearing the hearts talking. George, you are a completely different person than I pictured, when we came onto this, which is one reason I wanted to be a part of this, is because I knew, I saw when I backed up and stopped being defensive about what you were saying, I heard what, even though we tend to do, I think there's some.
You got 10 seconds, Ted. Wrap it up.
Some inherent disagreements, but I think we're probably going down the same road when all's said and done.
Okay. Ricky, then Ken, then George.
Yeah, going on with Whoopi, what she did was wrong. I like Whoopi. She's a comedian, and I have a lot of, I like comedians. They a lot of times they say things, and I think that was, initially that was her deal. She was saying something to kind of make a joke, and so that's what they usually do is they'll say something outrageous to make a point, so get people starting to think about it. However, she just kept on going and kept on going. She dug herself a hole, And so that's as far as that's, but she was wrong what she stated, because Germans wrote down, I mean, if they're nothing, they write stuff down, and so you don't have to wonder about what they were thinking about. They wrote down that the Jews were an inferior race. They put race, R-A-C-E, race. So, you know, her saying that it was not a race, I mean, I'm sure that the Jews, I'm sure the Jews would have loved not to have been a race, but they were raised. The Germans made them one. So
okay, great. Ken, then George.
Yeah, I listened to her and I wrote down a statement. I'm glad his brother asked me. He said, "What is truthful?" Because she said, and this is just a bigger part of what she said. She said, "Let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race." It's like, that's true. It's about man's humanity against man. To me, that was true. That's what it's about when you know race. And what I thought was interesting was that people would use Hitler's words to, I guess, oppose what I'll say is the truth that she spoke, just because Hitler said it was about race. There are quotes from Hitler where he, allegedly, whatever, I don't know if these people wrote or somebody wrote for them what they said, but he understood what race was and race wasn't, and he definitely used the concept race to do what he meant to do. Sure, he wrote all that stuff. He labeled Jews as an inferior race. That doesn't make that truth. That's what he believed, and that's what he used to do what he did. So just on that statement alone is the only thing that I, kind of looked. I said, wow, that's true. There is truth in that statement. And when she mentioned about the Holocaust, just the historical aspect, at that time, that word was not even used to describe what was done to those people. The word that they used was Shoah, if I'm pronouncing the Hebrew right, which means destruction. Holocaust was actually used to describe, one of the many words to describe what the Ottoman Turks did to the Armenians. That was a genocide that people were trying to wrap their heads around. And it was a Jewish guy, a Polish Jew, that came up with the word genocide to describe that. So to me, what is done in the name of race, for the reason of race, is man's inhumanity to man. It's like that statement that she made had truth in it. I don't care for Whoopi, her views or any of that. She is an outstanding comedian, and everybody should go see her first show on Broadway, where she does an awesome job of a story about Anne Frank. But what Brother Rodriguez says is she wasn't giving no joke. She wasn't being funny. That was serious. And to me, she spoke truth in that. Not whether she was being truthful or even knew what she was saying. It was about man's inhumanity against man, because there is no race. And just because that was Hitler's excuse or reason for doing what he did, and whatever his fantasies were about an Aryan race and all that other stuff, it doesn't matter to me, because I don't base my belief on what race is or isn't off of what Hitler said. But it was amazing for me to hear people, and Jewish people, referencing him to prove her wrong.
All right, George.
So with regard to the Whoopi situation, it's similar to just about, you pick any major scandal in our country dealing with race. It begins with misinformation. So Whoopi, I mean, people can have opinions, but your opinion is only as good as the information you're basing your opinion on. And a lot of times, that's why when I'm having conversations, I want to find out what is your definition first. And I think Ken said it earlier perfectly. I want to listen for where they are, and then I know where to go from, because you're trying to connect and convey and transfer information. So Whoopi misspoke. I knew what she was trying to say. Most of us knew what she was trying to say, but because she wasn't educated, she just jacked it all up. Her definition of race is off. She was coming from her Black experience, because she used that example later on the talk show to say, if me and this Jewish, quote unquote, white person, when she said Jewish, she was really saying white, right? Because she said they wouldn't be able to tell that she was Jewish, but they would definitely be able to tell that I wasn't. So I'm going to run. So she was trying to, improve her initial mess up by using that example, which just made it worse. And the fact is that Judaism is not a race. Now, I know some people that's going to just really jack people up, but Judaism is not a race. That's a cultural category. It is not a race. But what happens is because Hitler historically took the racial paradigm and inflicted it on the Jewish community. So he racialized the Jewish and gave them a racial experience, put them in a racial hierarchy, right? But, you know, that's nuanced thinking and it takes some time. And Whoopi didn't have all that in mind. But the most important aspect of this thing is this. The suspensions, you know, when, you know, Joe Rogan and the like, the suspensions, the firings, they may be well-intended, but they're highly ineffective because it's not teaching anybody anything. These are times to actually say, hey, let's learn about this. Let's do a show on this and get educated people that know what they're talking about. And let's teach the world so that we can not repeat these same type of mistakes. Let's eradicate the ignorance that people have about race and what culture is. And we don't do that. We just do the quick knee-jerk reaction. Oh, we got to suspend it. What, we got to fire him. What, he's out. What, we got to block the podcast. You're just stuffing the ignorance underground and it's just going to come up somewhere else.
All right, so let me throw this out, and then I'm gonna throw out one more question, and then we'll be, because we got about 10 minutes left. I'm gonna throw out the question about, y'all can be thinking about it before I make this comment. President Biden's appointing a Black woman to the Supreme Court. How does race play into that? Is that the right thing to do, bad thing to do? Does it further race or anything else? But the point I was gonna make about Whoopi is that Whoopi, and I think Ken said it right, is that what she said was truth, because what she didn't realize is that while it is, in fact, race is the story of man's inhumanity to man. Race was designed, that hierarchy was designed for exploitation, subjugation, and all of those things that happens anytime. And in Miguel's definition, he said, when you other. So what does that mean? If you other, if I can take any group of people, and this can happen inside your family, outside your family, inside your ethnicity, outside your ethnicity, when I other them to the point of creating a hierarchy that I am better. And this is why it becomes a story of humanity, the story of the worldwide of what's happened. Anytime I can other them, and Kim, that quote you made from, I think, Disraeli, there, that when he talked about race implies difference, this is what he's talking about. When I can other people and put them in a group not mine, then ultimately, what is that purpose for? It's for me to elevate myself over them. And that's really the story of race and its creation from the very beginning. It was done. And, you know, you had three guys, one was from Germany, one was from Sweden, and one was from France. They all had these different, they were all scientists and playing in the race game. They came up with three different versions and breakdowns of people groups, you know, all the Negroids, Caucasoids, all those things. Guess what those three thought were the greatest? Each one of them thought their group of people was. One was German, one was Swedish. It's the story of mankind, all right? This is the way it happens. But the bottom line is then race then happens that way, because I only did that so I could move myself up and say, I'm the man. I mean, you can look at the biblical stories and you got character after character. They were higher than the other one and the others were lower. It's just the story of mankind. So that's race. Now let's talk about how it's, you know, because, and that, by the way, when people say that started, so race didn't start in the USA. I mean, we have racial ideology, which is a huge racial phenomenon, but that idea of othering, which is the bigger picture of how race really began, didn't start just in the United States. You know, yeah, but we did a great job of it in the United States, and the European scientists and the American race scientists, they began to build on that, but it's a long and complicated story. Like Kim said, that's the biggest thing. All right, so go ahead. Let me see, in order, we got Kim and Ken, Ricky, TK, George, okay? And we got 10 minutes, so try to be considerate. All right, I took all your time, so go.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Carlin, about both the Black woman in Supreme Court choices, but also the quote that I used earlier today, because in that quote, remember, it said, difference implies superiority. And as I said before, I disagree with that piece of the quote, because difference doesn't imply superiority unless you choose it to. unless you allow it to imply that. I celebrate differences. And I think that we should not be trying to erase our differences. And it's clear it's obvious from the Bible that God loved variety, and he made us all different on purpose. So, and there's a difference between oppressing someone because of their differentiality and representation. My issue.
But remember, Kim, he started with race, though. He didn't start with just difference. He started with race. He started with the idea that race then implies difference. And so I'm saying, if you start with race, you're wrong. You start with race, you're wrong. If you use that as the basis, then you go down the wrong road. I understand what you're saying, but you're saying where we just start with difference. Yeah, if you just start and saying difference does not mean hierarchy or does not mean one's better than the other, that's true. But if you start with difference, but if you start with race, then you're headed down the wrong road.
Okay, I'll go with race implies difference. But what I do want to get this out, though, about the Supreme Court short selection. No, I don't believe in otherism in order to oppress others, but I do believe there's a difference between representation and oppression. And for example, if you have a football team and you want to coach the team, you're not going to, you're going to want people who are skilled in football or know about football or whatever, or who have some sense of what it's like to lead a football team. Right? It's the same thing when you have the Supreme Court. Their job is to all kinds of issues come before the court. And as you see, there's some very significant female issues that are coming before the court. Do you really want a Supreme Court of all men deciding on something so significant at that level without any women represented on a topic about women's issues? That doesn't mean that, there won't be some women, and that's another thing. Some people think, well, if you put a woman up there, they're going to think one way or the other. Well, we're not all monolithic. So I don't think that just putting any old black woman up there is going to do it. For example, we have Clarence Thomas, who had a very different school of thought than Thurgood Marshall. They both have black skin color. So no, I don't think just skin color alone is the exclusive set. There's a whole litany of skill sets and issues, the things that person needs to come to the table with beyond just being in black skin. So I could go more, but I know the time is short. So
that's right. Very good. Okay. Who did I say next? Ricky or George? Go, Ricky. Did you mean for your hand to be up? You got something to say on that one?
Yes, I did.
Okay, go.
I think that until this world is the way that it should be, yes.
Wait. Oh, and when's that going to happen? Do you have a date and a time? I want to make sure I'm there.
No, do you? Because on that day, at that second, then that's when we'll be able to do that. Now, she brought up a big point on something that's been sorely lacking. We haven't had a female Supreme Court justice since Sandra Day O'Connor in 81 when she was appointed. So that's, 200 and some odd years.
Wait, what you talking about? What do you mean? We got female. 2 of them now. What are you talking about?
No. This nation did not have a female Supreme Court justice until 1981 when they got Sandra Day O'Connor. It was the first female Supreme Court justice. Okay. And they represent 50% of the world. And for 200 and some odd years, for us not to have one, we need to make sure that it's that there's equity and that it's equal. And so I support them having a black female justice just on that, because we need to. The children need to see, hey, and everybody, anybody can be Supreme Court justice. And if we just leave it the way that it is, it will continue to be white males being in positions of power until that day is turned and we don't have it. then we need this. We need,
Our next show, we're gonna have a next show about all these terms you were using, Ricky. We're gonna have a show about all these equity and white supremacy.
I keep
We're gonna
wanting
have a
to
show
say
about that.
gringo.
We're gonna have a whole show. We're gonna spend 2 hours on that, those terms.
Yeah.
They eat me up when I hear that. Go ahead, George, and then TK. And yeah, we got about 3 minutes.
Okay, real quick, this is intersectionality of race and politics, and the conservative ideology uses race much more strategically effective than the liberal or democratic partisan ideology, and for different reasons. Biden clearly used the word Black strategically because it would impact his success in getting to the White House. The right-wing conservative uses and doesn't use the color specifically. They use coded messaging. And you have to learn to be aware of this. You can't pretend that both parties aren't integrating race into their strategy. Now, as it pertains to the judge, Biden won on one hand from the vote, but now he's got the racial albatross across his neck, because in race ideology, if somebody does something from a white perspective, there's got to be a Black response. And if somebody does something from a Black perspective, then there's got to be a white response. It's just built into the paradigm. No matter what you do, no matter how well-intended you're going to be, the right thing for Biden to have done was to say, I'm going to appoint this array of judges. Should not have ever used color, but I understand why he did, right? But he should not have ever, strategically speaking, just put up the pictures of who was in the short list and keep it moving. And if someone else wanted to say, what are those? I don't know what you're talking about, right? But because he's using race strategically, just like the conservatives use code words racially strategically. So we got to improve our intelligence about how this race thing is being played.
All right, good. TK, then Kim, and then we'll be
All right,
out,
real
and everybody's
quick.
gonna have 30 seconds to give their summary, but go ahead, TK.
All right, real quick. Yeah, it'll be interesting how it plays out. I think once again, it'll show the theater of race in this country. And I think no matter who wins it, because we have to remember, these are not people they picking up from Lucky's or Safeway or Publix or whatever. These are judges who've been doing their things for years, but they're going to be considered, I think they'll be considered affirmative action judges, and they'll lose all the years they put into their work will be lost because, well, you know, that's just part of the campaign promise, and he just did it for that. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And I think it's good, once again, with Trump and all this COVID and all this stuff, it will expose the country more than inform it.
Oh, good. All right, TK, good stuff. Who did I have? Kim, where you go? There you go, Kim.
No, I passed. So I'll go ahead and let someone else take my time.
All right. Well, everybody, you got 30 seconds to say what you want to say in the last 30 seconds. Anything you want to close out with? We got 30 seconds. I'm putting you on the clock. Anybody?
This was, thanks for letting me speak, and I really enjoyed it.
TK, go ahead, TK.
I was just saying, thanks for letting me speak, because sometimes on some Zooms, they let certain people speak and others don't. And I appreciate the fact that everybody was able to say their piece, and I really enjoyed it. And, you know, next time you guys have another one, hey, Wayne hooked me up to this, so hopefully he'll hook me up again.
Hey, go Niners, go Niners.
Nice.
Yeah.
You just messed up, Wayne. You just messed
Okay,
up.
George, go. 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds, George.
It's been a great experience. I learned a lot. Love listening to people's different perspectives, and thanks. Just enjoyed it.
All right, great. Ricky, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I enjoyed everything that you're doing as far as you let people speak, and that's the only way that things are going to be. You gotta air it out. It's like a wound. You gotta air it out and let oxygen get in that joker. And Dallas Cowboys.
Really good.
If that the last words that I'll ever say, Dallas.
All right, Ted, 30 seconds. Ted.
Well, I'll open with Go Joe, but I too want to thank everybody, because this is the only way we can solve the problem in our realms of influence. So I appreciate everybody's openness, expressing what you feel, but also listening to the other, you know, and I don't mean other in the sense of them. So thank y'all. I really mean that with the deepest appreciation.
Okay, great. Wayne, you're up. 30 seconds. L. Wayne.
Yeah, I echo everybody else. I read the Facebook posts. I'll make 1 or 2 comments, but then I'll listen. And sometimes it gets really intense. My boy D-Win, George, Ted, you last week. It gets really, of course, Carlin, he's the instigator, right? But it's beautiful when we can come on like this. And like Ted said about George, man, I really enjoyed talking to you today. The typing, sometimes it just gets out of control, but this is good stuff. So good job, bro.
All right. Kim. Okay. Oh, Kim, did you give up your 30 seconds? So you want your 30 seconds to say bye?
I'll take it.
I did give up my 30 seconds. I'll just say thank you and leave it there. Thank you for the opportunity. I enjoyed the conversation and everyone's input. I've learned some things today too.
Cool. All right, Kim. All right, D-Win.
Yeah, thanks guys for thank you, Carla, for this dialogue. And Ted, I'm gonna say the same thing you said about George. I got a different perspective from you now, and respect of you now, just seeing you, because some of the stuff you were saying online was kind of whack, but it's all good. It's all good, right? I think go back to what George was saying. We were conflating two things. Sometimes I don't know how we get there. I just say Jesus is the way, man. You change the heart and mind, right? You change the mind of folks, they're gonna behave differently, because all we want is to be treated the right way. That's my time. Thank you.
All right, Heather.
Just thanks. I appreciated getting the chance to learn. And I love the fact that as we honor one another above ourselves and respect each other, we learn and we grow, and then we change our small worlds. And I think a lot of things will follow.
Great. Kay Hunter. Ken.
Praise y'all. I'm just thankful to have been here and listen to everybody. And thank you, Heather, for your, what I say, plain and simple words. The truth is, people are people. I look at the Creator as having made man in his image and all the men that came after that. And that man made race. Yeah. And to me, he made race in his image, in the different images he makes of man. So to me, on a level, that's idolatry. That's what race is to me. If it was to be equated to a word, it's idolatry. Ooh. So however we deal with that, the understanding of why he didn't want us to make images of him, because we are already in that image.
Woo! Hey, Ken,
thank you.
Dropping bombs.
I agree.
Thing, man, the dialogue. You can't be dropping bombs late. We got to go. Gail, did you want to say bye? Gail, did you want to say bye? Waiting on Gail.
Hey, he need to turn on his camera when he dropping bombs like that.
Ken, they want you to, man, Ken, you dropping bombs like that. Ken's frat too, Wayne. You know him. You know Ken. Yeah. All right, Gail. Gail's not dropping bombs, so this is my last 30 seconds. Hey, if I was Jeff Bezos, I'd be sending you all a check for $1 million, because that's how valuable you are. I'm not Jeff Bezos, but when I get the money, give me an IOU, $1 million each of you, because that's how valuable your input has been. Really,
I'll take 100.
Just send me 100 now, bro.
Motivated about the things that I say. I take all the things that you say, and I ponder them, and I think about them. They make me better and make my view better. And you're enabling me, empowering me to do the things that I'm going to do. I love you all tremendously. You don't know. And Kim, I'll be there to get some more cake. And Heather, I'll come there, play with the kids. I mean, it's just, life is great. You guys make it that way. All right. So, hey, I'll send you all the messages. I post this on YouTube, Facebook. I'll send you all the links so that y'all got it. Okay. Great. Love you all.
Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.